Okay, let's try a little thought experiment here. I want you to close your eyes for a second.
Okay.
Imagine your home. Not, the mortgage payment, not the messy kitchen counter, but the structure itself.
Got it.
The wood, the brick, the glass. Now, I want you to stop thinking of it as just a building.
You're going to get a little metaphysical on me right out of the gate, aren't you?
Just bear with me.
Yeah.
I want you to picture it as a living organism.
A living organism.
Yeah. It has skin. It has a respiratory system. It breathes air in and out. It regulates its own temperature.
Mm-hmm.
And most importantly, it has an immune system.
I think I see where you're going with this. It's a little biological for a construction discussion, but structurally, it holds water. A house is a system of systems.
Right.
It's not just a box.
Exactly. And when a storm hits, let's say a classic Midwest derecho or a hailstorm, that's not just bad weather.
No.
That is a pathogen. That is a virus trying to breach the skin of the organism.
Mm-hmm.
And what stands between you and that infection? It's not just a shingle. It's a complex, integrated defense system.
Right. We call that fortification or the building envelope. If that envelope fails, the organism, as you put it, gets sick.
It gets sick.
You get rot, mold, structural failure, all the bad stuff.
But here's the problem, and this is what really drove me down the rabbit hole for this deep dive. When that skin gets damaged or just gets old and wrinkly, to, stretch the metaphor until it snaps,
Go for it.
we treat the symptoms in isolation. We have this completely fragmented approach. We call a guy for the roof.
Yep.
Then maybe 6 months later, we realize the windows are drafty, so we call a totally different window company.
Sure.
Then the gutters overflow, and we call a handyman.
And that fragmentation is exactly where the organism starts to fail. It
Yeah.
really is. Because all those systems interact.
How so?
Well, if you replace the roof, but you totally ignore the ventilation, you just cook the new shingles from below.
Oh, wow.
Or if you do the siding but don't flash the windows correctly, you get water in there and you rot the framing.
Mm-hmm.
The specialized fragmentation of the modern construction industry is actually a liability for the homeowner.
Which brings us to the subject of today's deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
We are looking at a company called Safeguard Construction.
Mm-hmm.
And on the surface, they look like a general contractor. They do roofs, siding, windows. But when you really dig into their business model, their history, and specifically their customer reviews, you see something different.
You do.
You see an attempt to solve that very fragmentation we're talking about.
It's a thesis on vertical integration applied to the suburban home. We're looking at a company founded way back in 2006,
Right.
based in Aurora, Illinois. But they're covering a pretty wide swath of the Midwest. You've got Wisconsin, Indiana. And what's really interesting is that they don't just fix things. They seem to manage the entire life cycle of the exterior of the home.
Right. We're talking about a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
But not in the, the Walmart sense of we sell cheap tires and cheap lettuce.
Right. Not that at all.
It's more in the sense of maybe a hospital.
Go on. I like this metaphor.
Well, think about it. They handle the diagnosis. That's the inspection.
Okay.
They handle the financial interaction, the insurance claim, which is this massive part of this we absolutely need to
A
unpack.
huge part.
They perform the surgery. That's the actual construction.
Yeah.
And then they handle the preventative care and the future-proofing. That's the solar energy.
That's a pretty fair analogy. And looking at the source material, particularly the reviews from clients like Dick Reader and Faith Bear, it really seems this integration isn't just a marketing slogan.
Mhm.
It's an operational necessity just because of how complex modern homes and, frankly, modern insurance policies have become.
So here is our roadmap for the hour. First, we are going to break down the anatomy of fortification, really get into the tech behind roofs and siding.
The nuts and bolts.
Then we are going to expose the hidden war of insurance claims. And I use the word war very deliberately.
It can feel that way.
We'll look at the future of energy with their solar division.
Yeah.
And crucially, we're going to need the people. Because a company is just a collection of humans, and we have some fascinating characters here. Kevin, Obed, Igor, David.
The human element is usually where these things succeed or fall apart. You can have the best shingles in the world, but if the project manager is a ghost, the homeowner is just miserable.
100%. So let's start at the top. Literally, the roof. Now, I have to admit, before I read this packet, I thought a roof was, well, wood, paper, shingles. Done.
Oh, if only it were that simple. That's the old truck and a ladder
Right.
mindset.
Safeguard talks about roofing services for both residential and commercial, but they keep using this phrase, Kuven installation techniques. And they talk about the roof as a system.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just marketing fluff to charge more, Or is there some actual engineering there?
Oh, no, it's legit. It's thermodynamics. I mean, think about where we live. In the Midwest, you have this extreme heat in the summer and then deep freezes in the winter.
The worst of both worlds.
Exactly. A roof isn't just shedding water. It's actively managing heat.
Okay, explain that.
So in the winter, you're heating your house. That heat rises.
Right.
It goes up into your attic. If your roof is just that wooden shingles model with no real ventilation plan, that heat gets trapped. It warms up the underside of the roof deck.
And that sounds good. I mean, a warm roof.
No, it's terrible. It's actually terrible because you've got snow sitting on top of the roof.
Ah.
The trapped heat from inside melts the bottom layer of that snow. The water runs down the roof until it hits the eaves, the very edge of the roof, which is colder because it's not over the living space.
So it freezes again.
It freezes again. And that is an ice dam.
Ah, the nemesis of every homeowner in a cold climate.
Exactly. The ice builds up, it forms a dam, and it creates a pool of water behind it. Now, shingles are designed to shed water running down, not to hold standing water. So that water backs up under the shingles and leaks right into your walls.
So when Safeguard talks about a system, they're talking about stopping that little physics experiment from ever happening on my roof.
Precisely. They're calculating the net free area of airflow. They need cold air entering at the bottom of the roof. Those are the soffits, and hot, moist air exiting at the ridge vents.
So it's creating a constant current.
It creates a continuous wash of cold air that keeps the roof deck the same temperature as the outside. No melting, no ice dams.
So if I hire some cheap contractor who just comes and slaps shingles down, I'm basically building a moisture trap on top of my own house.
You're building a rotting machine, yes. And that's before we even get into the materials themselves.
Right.
Safeguard emphasizes durability. In the roofing world, that usually comes down to the quality of the asphalt and the shingle and the matting inside it. Modern architectural shingles are multi-layered. They have depth. They are designed to take a hail hit without cracking the fiberglass mat underneath.
Which transitions us perfectly to the walls, the siding. I always thought siding was just makeup. You know, curb appeal.
The lipstick on the pig.
It's exactly.
It is the makeup for sure, but it's also the raincoat. And the windbreaker. Safeguard calls it the first line of defense. And if you look at their list of threats, weather, pests, cracking, warping, fading, you start to realize how much abuse siding actually takes.
They mention specific materials, vinyl and fiber cement. Now, I know vinyl is the standard, is that white picket fence suburbia look.
Yep.
But what is fiber cement? That sounds heavy.
It is heavier, but that's kind of the point. Vinyl is plastic. It's extruded PVC. It's great. It's cost-effective. It doesn't rot.
Right.
But you hit it with a weed whacker, it can crack. If it gets really cold, it can become brittle. Now, fiber cement, you can think of James Hardie board, though the source doesn't specify a brand.
Okay.
It's a composite of cement, sand, and cellulose fibers.
But basically synthetic rock.
In a way, yeah. It's incredibly fire-resistant. It doesn't rot. Termites can't eat it because, well, it's concrete.
Oh.
But here's the catch, and this is why Safeguard emphasizes top-quality installation. Fiber cement is unforgiving.
What do you mean by that?
If you install vinyl wrong, it just looks a little wavy. Annoying, but okay. If you install fiber cement wrong, it can fail catastrophically because it needs to be handled with very specific tools and very specific fastening schedules.
So the skill of the installer matters way more with the higher-end material.
Much more. You're paying for the craftsmanship as much as you are for the product itself. If you don't flash the corners correctly, water gets behind that concrete board and just sits there right against your wood framing.
Yikes.
Safeguard's focus on the system suggests they are managing that entire water intrusion plane behind the siding, which is critical.
Okay, let's move to the holes in the walls. The windows and doors. This is where I feel the pain, personally. My house was built in the 70s. In February, I can literally feel the dollar bills just flying out through the glass.
That's not just a feeling, that's thermodynamics again. And Safeguard leans really heavily into the economic angle here. Drafty windows cost you money.
It seems obvious, but is it that significant?
Oh, it's massive. In an older home, windows can account for 25, even 30% of your heating and cooling energy use.
Wow.
If you have single pane glass or even old double pane where the seal has failed, you know, when you see that fog between the glass.
Oh, I have the fog. The fog is very real in my house.
That means the insulating gas, it's usually argon, has leaked out. So
Yeah.
you're basically looking through a thermal hole in your wall. Safeguard is pitching modern replacement windows not just as an aesthetic upgrade, but as a financial cap on that energy loss.
They also mention noise reduction. A quieter home
That's the sleeper benefit. It really is.
Yeah.
People obsess over the R value, the insulation rating, but they forget about the STC, the sound transmission class.
Right.
A well-sealed window with double or triple panes and maybe dissimilar glass thickness, it cuts street noise dramatically. It completely changes the psychology of the home. It feels more, well, fortified.
Fortified. I like that word. It brings us right back to that fortress concept. Yeah, the last piece of the anatomy before we get into the business side. Gutters.
The unsung heroes.
The annoying heroes. I hate cleaning gutters. Safeguard talks about high-performance gutters and guards. But they make a claim that really stopped me. They said clogged gutters cause foundation damage.
That is 100% true, and it's probably the most expensive mistake that homeowners make.
Okay, connect those dots for me. How does water all the way up at the roofline break concrete down in the basement?
Gravity.
Yeah.
Simple gravity. If the gutter is clogged, the water cascades over the edge. Where does it land?
Right next to the house.
Right next to the foundation wall. The soil there becomes saturated, wet soil expands, and it creates what we call hydrostatic pressure against your basement wall.
It actually pushes the wall in.
It pushes the wall in, it cracks the concrete, or it erodes the soil underneath the footer, and the house actually settles. You end up with a $30,000 foundation repair bill because you don't want to spend $2,000 on better gutters.
Wow. Okay, so when Safeguard sells gutter guards, they aren't selling a luxury item for lazy people like me.
No.
They're selling foundation insurance.
Correct. And the safety aspect, keeping you off the ladder, that's just the cherry on top.
Okay, so we have the physical house, the roof is breathing, the siding is shedding water, windows are sealing in heat, gutters are diverting threats. That is the hardware.
Right.
But now we have to talk about the software, the bureaucracy.
The insurance.
Yes, this is where Safeguard really pivots from just a standard contractor to something pretty unique. They have this whole division, Safeguard Public Adjusters, Inc.
This is a bold move. I mean, most contractors just want to give you a quote and get paid. They want to avoid the insurance company.
Right.
Safeguard is actively stepping into the legal and financial ring on your behalf.
And the source material uses really strong language here. They talk about a red flag. They say, and I'm quoting, insurance companies often undervalue claims, delay settlements, or discourage hiring a public adjuster.
Let's unpack why they would say that. It comes down to a fundamental conflict of interest that is built into the insurance industry.
The good neighbor isn't always on your side.
The good neighbor is a publicly traded company, or a mutual company, that has to manage its loss ratio. That's the business model. When you file a claim, the insurance company sends their adjuster. Who pays that adjuster?
The insurance company.
Right. So that adjuster is incentivized, either directly or indirectly, to interpret the damage in the most conservative way possible for the company. They might look at a hail hit and call it blistering.
What's the difference?
Blistering is a manufacturing defect, not covered. A hail hit is storm damage, which is covered.
I see.
They might look at a wind-damaged shingle and call it aging.
And I, the homeowner, I have no idea. I don't know what a hail hit looks like versus a blister.
Exactly. You are an amateur negotiating with a professional. You are completely outgunned. And the software they use, it's often called Xactimate. It sets the prices. But if the inputs into that software are wrong, if they miss the measurements, or if they ignore required code upgrades, the check they write is just too small.
So enter Safeguard. We handle your claim, so you don't have to.
A public adjuster is a state-licensed professional who represents the policyholder, not the insurance company.
Okay.
They level the playing field. They get on the roof. They circle every single bit of damage with chalk. They quote the local building codes, and they argue with the carrier to get the full, proper value of the loss.
And it seems like this isn't just some side hustle for Safeguard. We need to talk about Kevin C. Schultz.
The owner.
The source says he literally wrote the book on this. A free ebook available on Amazon, all about public adjusting.
That is a massive credibility signal. It says, I'm not just a contractor who wants to sell you a roof. I am an expert in the claims process. By writing the book, he's educating the homeowner. He's pulling back the curtain on the whole insurance game.
It completely changes the dynamic. If I hire Safeguard, I'm not just hiring labor, I'm hiring. It's like a lawyer for my house.
Effectively, yes. And think about the synergy there. If Safeguard, the construction company, knows that Safeguard, the adjuster, is going to fight for every single penny,
then they don't have to cut corners on the bill. Right. If the insurance company only offers, say, $5,000 for a $10,000 roof, a normal contractor might say, Well, I guess we'll use the cheap stuff.
Or walk away.
Right. Safeguard says, no, we'll go get the other $5,000.
Which brings us right back to that one-stop shop thesis. The quality of the construction is directly dependent on the quality of the funding. By controlling the funding mechanism through public adjusting, they can guarantee the quality of the build.
It's genius, really. But they don't stop there. They have one more division, Safeguard Solar LLC.
The future-proofing arm.
This feels like a natural evolution, but also a risky one. I mean, solar is a totally different trade. It's electrical work. It's grid interconnection. It's complicated stuff.
It is different, but it's so intimately tied to the roof, and this is a huge pain point in the market right now.
What do you mean by that?
The solar versus roofer war. You have a homeowner who gets solar panels installed by a dedicated solar tech company.
Okay.
They drill 50 holes in the roof to mount the racks. 3 years later, the roof leaks.
And the homeowner calls the solar company.
And the solar company says, not our fault, the roof was old. So they call the roofer who installed it 5 years ago. And the roofer says, not my fault, those guys drilled holes in my shingles. Your warranty is voided.
Oh, no. And the homeowner is just stuck in the middle with a bucket catching water.
Exactly. Safeguard Solar solves that liability loop. Their slogan is, your home, your roof, your power.
One point of contact.
If they install the roof and the solar, there's only one phone number to call if it ever leaks. They own the penetration. They own the entire system.
That is a huge peace of mind factor. Plus, they mention energy independence.
Which is becoming more and more attractive as grid instability seems to be increasing. But technically, it just makes sense to align the life cycles. You never, ever want to put a 25-year solar system on a roof that only has 5 years of life left.
That would be a disaster.
It's a financial disaster waiting to happen because you have to pay thousands to take the panels off just to fix the roof later. Safeguard can synchronize those clocks. They can do it all at once.
So we have the fortification, the construction, the funding, the adjusting, and the future, the solar.
That's the model.
That's the business model. But a business model is just paper. A company is people.
It's always the human element.
We have this stack of reviews, and what really struck me is that they aren't just, great job, 5 stars. They are stories. They are detailed narratives about specific employees.
That's rare. That's very rare. Usually people only remember the name of the guy who screwed up.
True.
When people remember the name of the guy who did a great job, that says something.
Let's start with Obed Perez. He shows up in multiple reviews. Sarah Martinath, Eddie G.
Right. Obed seems to be the calming force. Sarah writes that he has a way of keeping things calm and on task.
Construction is chaotic. It's loud. It's messy. Your yard looks like a war zone for a few days. Having a calm guide is essential.
And Sarah also mentions something really critical, change management. She says, and I'm quoting her, construction rarely goes 100% perfectly. And she's so right. You tear off a roof, you find rotten decking, you order a window, it's back-ordered for 6 weeks.
So how did Obed handle that?
She says he was quick to be upfront and overly communicative. That is the golden rule of project management.
Absolutely.
Bad news delivered early is manageable. Bad news that you hide until the very end is a lawsuit.
And Eddie G adds that Obed will not try to sell you anything you don't want or need.
That builds so much trust.
It does. It moves the relationship from salesman versus Mark to consultant and client.
Exactly.
Then we have David. Faith Bear wrote this glowing review about him. She called him the sales representative who went above and beyond.
But listen to the specific behavior she praises. It's so telling. She says he didn't just sell. He acted like a contractor, overseeing details.
That bridges the gap, doesn't it? I mean, usually the sales guy gets you to sign on the dotted line and then he disappears to the golf course. You never see him again.
And then the crew shows up with no idea what was promised. Oh, the salesman said we'd paint the fascia. Well, it's not on the work order. David seemingly stayed involved. He owned the project, from signature all the way to completion. That continuity is what prevents mistakes.
Now, we have to talk about the man behind the scenes, the logistician.
Igor.
Greta Ivanova, Angela Schultz, Bijan Nikraven, they all mention him by name.
Greta says he coordinated all of the work between teams.
Think about how hard that is. You have the tear-off crew, then the shingle crew, then the gutter crew, then the siding crew. The dumpster has to be delivered. The materials have to be dropped.
It's a ballet.
Getting that ballet to happen without trucks blocking each other in the driveway is a real skill.
Yeah.
Igor is the conductor.
And Angela Schultz mentioned a weather delay. She said, no big deal. Igor was our representative.
That's the key, taking the stress off the homeowner.
Yeah.
Weather happens, you can't control it. But if Igor calls you and says, hey, rain is coming, we're bumping you to Tuesday, don't worry about a thing, it's fine. If no one calls and the crew just doesn't show up, that's when you panic.
Total panic.
And we can't forget the office team. Bijan mentioned Sasa and Sherry, the excellence team.
The unsung heroes of the front desk. Professional, courteous, friendly. They are the first voice you hear when you call, and probably the last voice you hear when you pay the bill.
It implies a culture, doesn't it? It's
Right.
not just one good roofer. It's a good receptionist, a good sales guy, a good project manager, all working together.
And that leads to potential. Bijan has been a client for many years. You don't get repeat business in construction unless you are incredibly consistent.
I want to zoom in on one specific customer story because I think it is the perfect case study for everything we've just talked about. The comparative shopper.
Dick Raderer.
Yes.
Oh, I love reading Dick's review.
Yeah.
Dick is a detective. He's the kind of customer that keeps honest contractors in business and drives the shady ones completely crazy.
So set the scene for us. Dick thinks he has hail damage.
Right. But he doesn't just call Safeguard. He calls 5 different companies. He is doing his due diligence.
Okay, 5 companies? And what did he find?
The entire spectrum of the industry. Company number 1 comes out, says there's damage, and immediately tries to force a signature.
The high-pressure close.
Total high pressure. Sign now, or we can't schedule you for 6 months.
Gross.
Dick wisely walks away. Then he gets other quotes. Some say there's no damage at all, but then he looks at the details of the quotes he does get. He had a cheapest option.
And we all love the cheapest option. Why shouldn't he take it?
Because Dick read the fine print. He noted that the cheapest company was planning to use substandard materials. Specifically, he caught them trying to use 15-pound paper instead of a synthetic water barrier.
Okay, we need to pause here and geek out for a minute. This sounds like jargon, but it's actually really, really important. What is 15-pound paper and why is it bad?
15-pound felt is 1950s technology. It is literally paper saturated with asphalt. It's what everyone used before modern plastics were good. Here's the problem with felt paper. It absorbs water.
Which is the exact opposite of what you want on a roof.
Right. When it gets wet from high humidity or a small leak, it expands. When it dries, it shrinks. It gets all wrinkly. Those wrinkles can actually telegraph through and push up on your shingles, making the roof look lumpy.
Oh, wow.
But worse, it has very low tear strength. You can poke your finger through it pretty easily.
So if a shingle blows off in a storm, that paper underneath is flimsy.
It's likely to tear immediately, and then you just have bare wood exposed to the rain. Now, compare that to what Safeguard offered. Synthetic underlayment.
Okay.
This is a woven polymer. Think of it like a high-tech tarp, but designed for roofing.
So it's basically indestructible.
Nearly. You can't tear it with your hands. It doesn't absorb water at all, so it lays perfectly flat. It provides a massive secondary layer of protection. If you lose a shingle, that synthetic barrier will keep your house dry for months if needed.
So the cheapest guy was saving a few $100 by using paper instead of polymer.
Exactly. And Dick, our detective, he realized that. Safeguard came in as the median estimate. They weren't the cheapest, but they weren't the most expensive either. They offered the high-tech material at a fair price. That is the definition of value.
It really is. And the execution. How did the job go?
Dick says the crew worked till dusk, they cleaned up wayward nails, and they respected landscaping.
The wayward nails thing triggers me. I had a roof done years ago, and I swear I was finding rusty nails in my flower beds for 3 years. It's so dangerous.
It's a sign of laziness. It's as simple as that. A good crew uses magnetic rollers. They sweep the yard and the driveway like they're looking for evidence at a crime scene. Safeguard clearly does that.
There's one more name I want to bring up from the reviews. Mr. Blazak. This was in a review by David Pogorski.
Ah, yes. The insurance whisperer.
David says his insurance company mandated a roof replacement, but Mr. Blazak supplied me with all the proof necessary to satisfy the insurance company.
This circles right back to the public adjusting theme. The insurance company needed proof.
They didn't just take his word for it.
Of course not. They probably wanted photos, specific code citations, maybe even engineering reports. A homeowner has no idea how to provide that. Mr. Blazak did.
He bridged that knowledge gap.
He spoke the language of the insurer. Here is the photo of the granular loss. Here is the hail impact count per 10 by 10 square. Here is the local code requirement for ice and water shield. That kind of detailed documentation is what triggers the check to be released.
So bringing it all together here, we have the tech, the advocacy, and the team. Why does this matter to you, the listener? right now?
I think it comes down to a philosophy that Safeguard lists on their site. It's reliable repairs versus quick fixes.
Right. Finding the root of the problem, not just patching it.
We live in such a quick fix culture. We want it done cheap and we want it done now. But a home is a long-term asset. If you just patch a leak without fixing the underlying ventilation problem, you're just kicking the can down the road.
And the next leak will be worse.
And probably more expensive. Safeguard seems committed to solving the systemic issue, not just the symptom.
And doing it with certified specialists.
Which matters. Solar technology changes every single year. Roofing codes change. Siding materials evolve. You need a team that is constantly training and staying up to date.
And they are local. Aurora, Cottage Grove, they serve Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana.
Geography is destiny in construction. It really is. You cannot build a roof in Illinois the same way you build one in Arizona. You have to understand the freeze-thaw cycle. You have to understand the specific weight of snow in your region. A local company knows that in their bones.
So let's synthesize this. We started with this idea of the home as a fortress, as a living organism.
And I think we found that Safeguard Construction is essentially trying to be the chief medical officer for that organism.
I like that. They inspect it.
Yep, the diagnosis.
They diagnose the financial health through the insurance adjustment.
The insurance physical.
They perform the surgery, the roof, the siding, the windows, and then they give it vitamins, the solar panels, to make it stronger for the future.
It's a holistic approach, and frankly, it's a relief. Because the alternative is being your own general contractor.
Which is an absolute nightmare.
It is. You're trying to coordinate the roofer, the gutter guy, the solar guy, and the insurance adjuster, none of whom are talking to each other.
No.
Safeguard says, no, we'll talk to each other. You just live in the house.
And when you look at that human factor, people like Obed, who keep you calm, David, who acts like a partner, Kevin, who educates you on your rights, and Igor, who makes the trains run on time, it stops being just a transaction.
It becomes a relationship.
It does.
And in an industry that is notorious for storm chasers, those guys who show up after a hailstorm, take your deposit, and then disappear. Having a company that was founded in 2006 with a physical office and a long-term team, that is the ultimate trust signal.
So here's the final thought I want to leave you with today. The next time you pull into your driveway, don't just look at the color of your siding or, the state of your shingles. I want you to look at your roof and ask yourself a question. Do I see a stack of asphalt, or do I see a complex financial and structural system?
And more importantly, if a storm hits tomorrow, and in the Midwest, we know it will.
It will.
Do you want to be the one managing 5 different contractors and arguing with an insurance adjuster on the phone?
Or do you want one team that knows your home from the claims paperwork all the way to the solar panels?
It's a question of peace of mind. And based on what we've seen today, Safeguard Construction seems to have built their entire business around providing exactly that.
Lasting results, guaranteed. That's going to do it for this deep dive. Whether you're looking to patch a leak or completely fortify your home, we hope this gave you the tools to understand what to look for.
Stay dry, everyone.
And we'll see you in the next one.